I'm a 52-year-old man who spent nearly 3 decades working as an accountant at a small firm. Like most fathers, I did whatever was necessary to provide for my family. Long hours, extra jobs, and countless opportunities for overtime. Anything to ensure my daughters, Rachel, 27, and Jessica, 24, could have the best. I stretched myself thin, believing that a life of sacrifices would grant them everything they deserved. Private tutors, brand new cars at 16, study abroad programs, and full tuition for elite universities. I gave them the world. I even survived on ramen noodles for weeks so Rachel could study art history in Florence. Their mother, Deborah, left when Jessica was only 3. She said she felt trapped and quickly found her freedom in the arms of her tennis coach, Marco. After the divorce, I got full custody of the girls, and those years were the happiest of my life. Things began to shift last March when Deborah got engaged to Bradley Harrison, a flashy investment banker. The girls were thrilled. Suddenly, weekends were spent at his house, and they returned with designer handbags, stories about yachts and vacation homes. While I wasn't thrilled by the change, I figured as long as they were happy, that was all that mattered. Then came October. I spent 2 days preparing their favorite Sunday dinner, everything made from scratch. I even used the fine china my mother had passed down to me. They arrived late, both wearing matching Cartier bracelets, stepping out of Bradley's Mercedes. Rachel didn't even take off her coat before she said, "Dad, we need to talk." Jessica followed up, saying they'd be spending Christmas with their mom and Bradley at a chalet in Ville. That stung, but I suggested we celebrate early. Then came the real blow. "We need to reassess our family dynamic," Rachel said, her tone icy. Jessica added that Bradley wanted to adopt them, an adult adoption, for his estate planning. I stared, trying to process. Then Jessica delivered the crushing detail. "You're not our biological father. Mom told us she had an affair with Marco before the divorce." The world seemed to tilt beneath me. I remembered the DNA test from the custody case, but they claimed Deborah said I'd faked them. Rachel dismissed it with a wave of her hand. "It doesn't matter. We're moving on." She gestured around my modest house, like it was something to be ashamed of, and then they left. They didn't touch the meal, didn't hug me, didn't even say goodbye. I was left standing in my kitchen, surrounded by cold dishes and a loneliness I hadn't known in years. 3 days later, I revisited the DNA test locked away in my safe deposit box. The results confirmed what I already knew, a 99.9% paternity match for both girls. I reached out to my friend Sarah, a family law attorney, and we sent a cease and desist letter demanding that they stop spreading lies. Their response, through Bradley's lawyer, was that they stood by their claims and expected me to cooperate with the adoption. Jessica even posted on Instagram about escaping toxic situations and celebrating chosen family, alongside a smiling picture of her with Bradley at a gala. Some praised her courage. Others called her ungrateful. Then Bradley started texting me. He wanted me to sign the adoption papers. "You've had your time," he wrote. "Let a real man take over. I can give them what you never could." I replied once, "Show DNA proof or stop contacting me." He shot back, "Don't embarrass yourself. Real men know when to step aside." Deborah called next, urging me to let go. "Why are you making this so difficult?" she asked. "Bradley can open doors for them. Why can't you just let go?" I reminded her that they were my daughters. She scoffed and said I was being stubborn, warning me not to drag this into court. "Don't make us prove our point." That conversation set something off inside me. I knew something was wrong. A week later, I uncovered a truth that hit like a ton of bricks. Bradley wasn't the financial genius he appeared to be. Through my accountant network, I learned he was under investigation by the SEC for securities fraud. The mansion? Leased. The boat? Borrowed from a client who was now suing him. The incredible opportunities he boasted about? All smoke and mirrors. Even more telling was why he was so desperate to adopt my daughters. He had been presenting himself as a devoted family man to potential investors, and 2 successful adult daughters were the perfect image for that. I was never the obstacle. I was simply an inconvenience. I raised those girls. I poured everything I had into them. And now, They've discarded me because of a lie wrapped in a shiny, false sense of luxury. But this story isn't over. Not by a long shot. Jessica worked for a marketing agency, and Rachel's job in art curation gave the impression that they had everything in order. But the adoption wasn't about securing anything for their future. It was about maintaining appearances. Now, I'm sure I'll come off as petty, but rather than confronting them head-on, I decided to make a few calculated moves that would leave a lasting impression. I canceled their phone plans, which were still under my name. I took them off my credit cards as authorized users. I even changed the Netflix password, maybe petty, but I wasn't done. I sent them a bill itemizing their car payments and tuition fees, all under my name. The total came to $372,000. Their reaction was immediate. Rachel showed up at my office, throwing a fit and demanding to know why I'd cut off her phone service during work hours. "Sorry, do I know you?" I asked. "Dad, this isn't funny," she snapped. "According to you, I'm not your dad," I reminded her. Jessica came by that evening, tears welling up in her eyes. "Daddy, please." "We didn't mean it," she pleaded. "We were just exploring our options." I looked at her, coldly responding, "Options? Like denying I'm your father?" She stammered, mentioning that Bradley had advised them to distance themselves from me, saying that having a father from the middle class would harm his investor meetings. At least some truth had slipped out. 2 weeks later, Bradley's financial problems exploded into the news. It wasn't just an investigation. It was a full-blown federal case. Agents were gathering evidence for a Ponzi scheme. He had been using funds from new investors to pay off the old ones, and he was running out fast. The engagement came to an abrupt end when Deborah realized the mansion she'd been flaunting was just a rental, and the wealth they'd been living on was all fake. She tried to crawl back to me, but that ship had sailed a long time ago. My daughters, on the other hand, scrambled to salvage what they could. They took to social media, accusing me of financially abusing them for demanding repayment for their education. Rachel's best friend, someone I had helped through college, called me in tears, saying Rachel had been telling everyone that I was a monster. My sister even chimed in, saying it was a mistake that could be easily forgiven. But she wasn't the one who'd been taken in by a con artist. I kept everything formal, communicating only through lawyers. Sarah sent them letters demanding they repay the car payments and set a timeline to transfer the titles. Either they acknowledged I was their father, or they would pay up. Then Bradley's lawyer fired back with a threatening letter, accusing me of extortion and emotional blackmail, claiming I was damaging his business by spreading rumors about his financial downfall. Sarah laughed. She said the discovery phase would be hilarious. Social media became a battleground, Team Dad versus Team Daughters. Their friends attacked me, while mine defended me. It got ugly, but I stayed silent, watching it all unravel. A month later, Bradley was arrested. Federal agents raided his office and the rented mansion. Deborah was caught attempting to flee with suitcases filled with cash. She was much deeper in the scam than anyone had realized. Finally, my daughters understood they had backed the wrong person. They showed up at my house, looking shell-shocked. Gone were the designer clothes, replaced with jeans and sweatshirts. "Dad," Rachel started, "we made a mistake. Several mistakes." I corrected her. Bradley was gone. Their mother was likely facing jail time, and they needed help. Jessica asked, "What kind of help?" I asked, "The FBI has frozen our accounts. They think we were involved because we attended investor meetings with Bradley. Were you involved?" They exchanged guilty glances. "We may have helped transfer some money," Rachel whispered. "Bradley said it was for tax purposes." I sighed. "Get a lawyer. A real one." "We can't afford one," they said. "Our credit cards are maxed out. Our account are frozen." I shrugged. Sounds like a personal problem. They left, tears streaming down their faces, but I felt nothing but exhaustion. 3 months later, things settled down. Bradley got 12 years in federal prison. Deborah received 3 years for conspiracy, flipping on him as soon as the pressure mounted. My daughters were spared criminal charges, as the prosecutor deemed them willfully ignorant, not complicit. Their reputations, however, were shattered. Rachel lost her curatorial position, and Jessica was let go from her marketing firm. The scandal was too much to overcome. They were now living together in a small apartment, working retail to make ends meet. They had managed to repay $15,000 of what they owed me for the cars, but I wasn't expecting the rest. Then, I received a letter from Rachel. "Dad, I don't expect your forgiveness," she wrote. "We chose greed over love, lies over family. Every sacrifice you made, every hour you worked, every time you put us first, we threw it all away for designer bags and fancy parties. I see it now, all of it, and I am so sorry. Your daughter, if you'll still have me." I haven't replied. Not sure if I will. Jessica's letter was shorter. "I'm sorry for everything. You deserve better. My sister thinks you should forgive us. Are they really your daughters? Though, they certainly didn't act like it. So, when Bradley's wealth was flowing, I wasn't doing well. But now I'm fine. I took my first vacation in years and started dating again. Sarah's sister, actually. She's kind, works as a librarian, and there's no drama. I even got a promotion to senior accountant. Turns out, when you're not constantly stressed about your kids, you perform better. Do I miss them? Every damn day. But I miss who I thought they were, not who they turned out to be. Will I forgive them? Maybe. But trust isn't freely given, it's earned. And they have a long road ahead of them. The hardest lesson? Love shouldn't be conditional, but respect certainly is. Thanks for following my story. It helped to share it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a life to live. To answer some common questions. Yes, the DNA tests are real from the original custody case. No, I'm not financing their legal troubles. Yes, they're both working on rebuilding their careers. No, I don't regret cutting them off. Yes, I've saved all the receipts. Every single one.